The real question is when is he going to admit that the current policy is a total failure and that monetary manipulation is actually opposite of what capitalism is all about?
Kind of like asking Chairman Bernanke when he stopped beating his economy. Back with his reaction to the news conference is Congressman Ron Paul, member of the Financial Services Committee, Joint Economic Committee, and chairman of the Domestic Monetary Policy Subcommittee. Congressman, good to have you back.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
You wrote after the press conference yesterday that Bernanke continues to ignore his culpability for the inflation all Americans suffer due to the Fed's relentless monetary expansion. Did you hear no hints at all that that he at least feels our pain, so to speak?
Yeah, he does, and that's why they have press conferences, try to soften the image. But I think this demonstrates the fundamental difference because he did talk about inflation, and it was a problem. Commodity prices are going up. But what he talks about is increased demand only, demand for commodities. But you have to ask, why is there an increased demand, and why do people want to give more dollars for commodities? But he says that it he didn't say it, but he never said monetary policy has something to do with this. Matter of fact, I thought it was fascinating when he was asked the question, you know, about the value of the dollar. And the Fed chairmen always do this. They say, well, the value of the dollar is controlled by the Secretary of the Treasury. Yep. You know, it's not the Fed. But at the very time, you know, the Fed chairman is speaking, you know, the dollar goes down and gold goes down and commodity prices go up. And he's the one that's most responsible, you know, for the value of the dollar. And then as he speaks and as he pursues his policy.
When you say most responsible, you're not saying solely responsible, right? I mean, that was sort of his point yesterday, that there are other factors at work against the dollar, that the discussion we just had before the break sort of points to this. I mean, do you think the Fed's culpability is 80%, 90%, or do you think...
About 95, and then there's their anticipations of what other countries do and the traders and all that. But no, you print a lot of money and the value goes down. You can't triple the monetary base and not think the value of the money is going down. You know, I talk to grade school kids and high school kids, and they have no problems understanding this. They think, why do people think that you can triple the money supply and not expect the value to go down, and it's a weak dollar policy?
Right.
But Bernanke claims that our policy is for a strong dollar. And he expects everybody to believe this. I mean, nobody believes that. I mean, we have a weak dollar policy.
But you work on the Hill. I mean, I'm sure every day you're faced with questions about the long-term deficits of this country. Are you saying that only 5% of the dollar's weakness has to do with Congress's inability to lower our debt, lower our deficits?
Yeah, but it's in collusion with the Federal Reserve. If the Federal Reserve couldn't buy the debt, the dollar would remain strong, interest rates would go up, and the Congress would have to cut spending. But when the deficits go up, everybody knows the Fed is there to accommodate because they will not allow interest rates to go up. And then they lower the interest rates and then fool the whole business community because they think there's a lot of savings. But you can have zero savings and low interest rates, and that's where the problem is. If you don't have savings, there's no capital there unless you create it out of thin air, and that creates a weak dollar. Right. So that, yes, the Congress puts pressure on it, but they couldn't do it without the Fed.
Well, Congressman, you say even a child could understand this, and I'm wondering, Bernanke is a PhD economist. Are you saying he doesn't really know what he's doing?
I think that he accepts a economic system and a monetary system that is unworkable. And there is no way he can break loose from that because he spent a lifetime, you know, preaching the gospel that the only reason we had a depression is we didn't print money fast enough. And he said that the answer to any downturn is printing money. And if you even had to drop it out of helicopters. And he denies that prices go up because of monetary policy, and he will never accept the blame for this. It's something else. Growth, he says, does this. At the same time, how does he explain the fact that when there's high demand and growth, that the price of cell phones go down when you have a healthy economy. So when you have prices going up, the only thing he can do is give us an unhealthy economy. He can't deal with monetary policy. He can't blame monetary policy. So he says that we have to have a weak economy,
right,
to bring prices down. And you don't have to do that in a free market. You don't. The whole flaw here, here is that too many people believe you can have central economic planning through monetary manipulation. I think it's totally impossible. I think it's the wrong thing to do.
One quick question on transparency. They would likely argue we're doing this because it's going to make it easier for us to telegraph our thinking and maybe explain tools we'll need to use down the road. How much of this new practice of the news conference has to do with simply answering critics like yourself?